Hello and welcome to BIC Instruments Office Hours. My name is John Kowalski. I'm part of the marketing team here at BIC and like to welcome you. Today's topic will be about physical testing and field testing. We have one of our resident experts with us today, business line manager for protective coatings and all things physical test, Mr. Matt Fight. A couple of housekeeping things. If you're unfamiliar with our office hours format, it is basically a shortened presentation, usually 20-25 minutes, followed by open dialogue, questions that you may have. However, we can help you. We're here. So if you do have any questions, please log them in the chat box. It should be in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and we'll get to them. Matt's a pretty informal guy, so if you have questions on something he's talking about, feel free to ping the chat and I'll stop him before he moves on and we can have a chat. There's times too where we may need some additional information from you, so I will ask you to unmute yourself if we get there. Also, we are recording this, and immediately following the presentation, you'll receive an automatic or an automated marketing email with the link. Feel free to watch it later, share it with colleagues, whichever you like. So with that, let me introduce Mr. Matt Fight. It's all yours, sir.
Hey, John, thanks, man. I appreciate the introduction. We're going to talk about equipment used for not only field evaluation, but laboratory evaluation of coatings, etc. So first of all, we're going to start out with grind gauges, or typically you're going to hear the terminology Hagman gauge. It's an instrument which indicates a fineness of grind of coarse particles used for coating application, and it's a fairly simple to use product. You apply your coatings at one end and you draw down with a drawdown bar, as you can see from the scale here. You draw down the coating and then you have your readings from 0 Hagman up to, I believe it is 8 Hagman. And next, we're going to talk about density cups. So density cups are going to be used to identify the specific weight of paints and similar products. So what you're going to do here is you weigh the cup when empty, then you fill it with a liquid, then you place the lid on the cup, and then you weigh the gravity cup and divide the weight by volume to determine the specific value. So weight divided by unit volume, and density of the material is density of the water at the same temperature. All right, abrasion testing. So these are going to be commonly used in many paints and coatings laboratories. Basically testing the ability of the coating to resist abrasion, and it is going to be basically based on resistance to abrasion caused by a brush, sponge, pad, etc.
So this is just really to test the durability of the coating, and
basically.
How is this different
John,
than like a weathering?
Like a what? Sorry.
Oh, like a weathering test, similar to that?
No, not really. I mean, this is going to be used by a coating manufacturer or an accredited laboratory to see, how many scrub cycles basically can a wall paint resist abrasion. You know what I mean?
Got it.
So it's not so much like a weathering test, like a UV light or QC or anything like that. It's basically just to be more of an abrasion type of testing.
Okay.
All right. Wet film thickness, and this is an interesting topic, and I've done a lot of presentations and training classes on wet film and why is that important. Um, a good applicator, whether it's in a lab setting or out there in the field hanging off a bridge or a tank, you're going to know your product data sheet, and you're going to know what the volume solids are of your coating. And using a good wet film gauge during application can help you assess where you're going to be at for your dry film. So it's basically a quality control or quality assurance tool used during application to make sure that you're within range of your anticipated dry film thickness. Um,
And that'll help.
and
Sorry to interrupt, but that'll help with the warranty of the coating as well to verify that it was applied properly and at the
yeah,
right thickness.
right. So in a few slides, we're going to talk about dry film thickness gauges and whatnot, but
Yeah.
using the wet film gauge in the application process is going to help you to guarantee where your dry film is going to be.
Gotcha. I mean, what a handy tool. Everyone should carry one of those or a handful
You
of
know,
those in
I
their pocket.
in many previous roles, good applicators have them in their back pockets.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just a
totally.
good tool to have.
Yeah.
So for film thickness measurement, dry film thickness measurement, first up here is going to be the um, theoretically what is called a took gauge or a pig gauge, and this is going to create a destructive measurement into the coating system. The cool thing about this gauge is, not a lot of digital dry film thickness gauges give you the ability to read individual coating layers.
Hmm.
The cool thing about this one is you can see what the primer application was, intermediate coat, and or top finish. Um, unfortunately, this is probably going to be used more in like a failure analysis type of application. But this gauge in and of itself can give you the ability to read individual thickness layers.
Okay, but you said primarily used for like warranty or type
Yeah,
verification.
yeah. I mean, theoretically, if you're pulling this gauge out, there's a problem. You know what I mean?
Okay, gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
it's not just going to be a total film thickness reading like
Okay.
with a typical dry film gauge. In these situations, it's going to be more of did the contractor do what they said they did? You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So you're gonna be working for the owner at this point, probably,
Okay.
doing
Good
some
to know.
analysis. But this next slide right here is basically just explaining what the gauge does itself. It's going to cut. There's individual teeth, for lack of a better description, that you use for specific film thicknesses or anticipated film thicknesses, and that you can look through the aperture and kind of see what's going on under the surface.
Nice. And all of these different cutters here, looks like 5 different cutters at different angles. Are they used for different applications, or is it, specified, or how does that come into play?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically going to be dependent on your film thickness.
Okay.
Okay, so if you look at it from the standpoint of 80 mils, 40 mils, 8 mils, whatever the case may be, that's if you're taking an anticipated reading, that's what different aperture or cutting angle you're going to use.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Hmm. All right.
There it goes.
So, dry film thickness, non-destructive. There's a bunch of options out there, but I think we have a really um, unique gauge and an inexpensive cost that does coatings, non-magnetic coatings over ferrous and non-metallic materials, aluminum, etc. And the cool thing about this gauge right here is it's going to give you the RH. It's going to give you ambient conditions that are very important during the application process. Really doesn't matter where you're applying a coating. All coating manufacturers are going to have, some sort of a recommendation as far as ambient conditions, RH dew point, etc. So the neat thing about the dry film gauge here is that it's going to give you, you know, the ability to read film thickness over ferrous and non-ferrous, dew point, air temperature, and RH. So it's
Yeah.
pretty unique characteristics of our BICO test.
Yeah, and all that data, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it can be exported into an Excel sheet. So that's great for verifying what's actually going on with the coating on the surface.
Yeah, so I mean, John, if you think about it nowadays, that is the key to everybody's
Yeah,
world is reporting data.
yeah,
I want to see the report.
yeah,
Um, so most definitely, yeah, that's a good feature as well.
yeah, great.
A little more information on the BICO test. Fairly compact, easy to use. Whatever type of situation you're in. Um,
Yeah, and this is the light version, so it doesn't have the dew point and all the ambient conditions
right,
as the BICO test, the big one.
right,
If you don't need that
absolutely.
stuff.
But the unique function of both of these gauges are that the ferrous and non-ferrous metals application is included, so you
Yep.
don't have to you don't have to worry about it. Whatever type of substrate you're reading, it's going to identify it right away. So it's a pretty cool function.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, and those are handy too. They fit in the palm of your hand, so it's nice and portable.
Right, right. Then of course, we're talking the viscosity. Most people in the industry are going to be aware of Zahn cups, Ford cups, whatever the case may be. Um, the liquid or coating is going to flow through a gravity type of process,
Mhm.
and the orifice has a defined diameter. Um, and something I wish I was better versed at, but it's measuring efflux time in seconds. And we're going to see here in the next slide, it's a pretty cool function right here. If you look at it this way, the Guardco, there's actually a InstaFisc app that we came out with a few years ago. And for those on the call that don't know, BIC Instruments and Guardco, which is Paul Gardner, we're the same company now. So uh, whichever instrument you're looking at, you can go to both websites and pretty much pick out whatever you need either way.
Mhm.
And it's all coming from one location. But
Yep.
this InstaVisc application, you basically just put your viscosity cup in here, and then you can choose your drawdown time, for lack of a better description, and it does it for you. So download the app. It's a pretty cool application, free of charge.
Yeah, it really is. I'll put that link in the chat and both.
Yeah.
It's essentially, you know, BIC Instruments is, color appearance and physical test. Guardco is physical test equipment.
Right.
Both have good web shops you can purchase online. Our sales teams, both inside sales and our regional sales managers, we have them throughout the country, and actually the globe too. So if you need a demonstration of something, or you're having a problem where you need someone to come in and help you out, we have people on staff that can do that to you. So I'll put both of those links in the chat box. But yeah, that's kind of the differentiating features of both brands. But yeah, like Matt said, we're we work for both brands, depending on you know what we're talking about at the moment.
Absolutely, man. That's a good point. So next, we call this our protective coatings field kit. So what consists of the protective coatings field kit? We have an anemometer, we have a moisture meter, DFT, a dry film thickness gauge, and then an IR gun. So I mean, if you look at it from the standpoint of protective coatings versus commercial coatings, meaning residential, or commercial repaints, the moisture meters may be more geared toward commercial coatings, but IR guns and DFTs are very, very prevalent for the industrial coatings segment. So what is included? We can go one of two ways. The M100 or M200 gauges are used for determining the moisture content of masonry, gypsum, wood, etc., plaster. It's going to give you a quick reference to see if you can apply your coatings in a timely fashion. I think I skipped over this, John. I apologize.
No,
So, well,
that's just a
you know,
little product that we launched a little bit
right,
ago.
right. Amen. Right. So, this is our rotational viscometers. We recently brought these out probably about 2 months ago. We've been put in the production right now, manufactured and serviced and calibrated in Columbia, Maryland. Very easy user interface. Just like all other BIC instruments, it has the same look when you turn it on, so it's pretty easy to use. For the rotationals, we have low, regular, and high viscosity ranges, and man, I've been on so many field demonstrations now. It's really easy to use and easy to dial in your ranges. So, whatever your viscosity your products are, it's really easy to figure out what spindle, what number you need, and then find the perfect um, spin rate that you're going for.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, it's going to be built and serviced in America, so turnaround times for calibration issues are going to be minimal.
Yep, it's a great product.
Yeah.
All right. Want me? Oh yeah, there you go.
All right,
Back to
back
the
on track.
field test kit components here.
Yeah, right. So now, when you're talking about anemometers, you're talking about wind speed, you're talking about um, issues in containment. If you're in a bridge application, you're blasting and painting. You have to have a certain amount of airflow going through the containment areas. And obviously, if you're in an exposed environment, you don't want the wind speed to be too great that you're going to carry the coating and spray all kind of cars going by.
Yeah.
So that's a very important tool that is
Yeah.
uh, commonly used in the industrial coatings world.
Yeah.
All right, IR guns. One thing I want to make certain is that IR guns are great. It's a great tool to use in the proper application, and whatever coating you're using is going to have a specific application range, right? The thing you have to register when you're using an IR gun is how far away from the surface are you. Okay. Um, for R gauges, it's going to be measuring the temperature of the surface prior to application, but you're not going to get the proper measurement 20 feet away if it's a pipe up in the air or up in the ceiling. So proper usage of these gauges, whether it's a big gauge or a FLIR or whatever the case may be, you always have to read up on the application ranges for the gauges themselves. We do offer these both with calibration and non-calibration, and that's kind of a big thing right now. Everybody loves to see calibration documents, etc. So
Yeah,
just keep that in the back of your minds.
good. Good. Yeah, really, this whole field test kit, I mean, it's a great and handy, collection of instruments for, applying or testing the environment before you put a coating on. So yeah, it's a good little kit.
No, and for really the accumulation of these instruments, it's really not that expensive. Whatever your role is, if you're working in quality control or quality assurance, as far as, you know, I'm the contractor, or I'm working for the owner, whatever that
Yeah.
role may be, it's going to get you going down the right path. And certainly, for the point of discussion, we can always upgrade and customize stuff to the end
Yeah.
user.
Yeah. And I just a quick look. I mean, this list price on this is 1150. $1,150. So not bad for all of this equipment, and if it'll keep you from applying a coating that you shouldn't be applying if it's too humid out, or if the wind is going blowing too fast. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. I really think that for the price, it's a good little kit to have in your back pocket, so to speak. And
Yeah.
then, you know, once again, you can build upon your calibration and quality control offerings from there.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, so questions from you. Like I said, it was a shortened presentation. Thanks for the quick overview of physical testing and field testing, Matt. When to use stuff, how to use it, and why it's there. What questions do you all have? Just log them in the chat box. Matt's our protective coatings and physical test guy here. You can see his email on the screen. Feel free after the fact, if you think of something, you can ping him directly. You can also hit reply to any of the automated marketing messages you get. We'll get that in the marketing department and funnel that to Matt or the technical expert there. So Matt, I guess this is just a question for you. Surface preparation is definitely key to applying a coating, but also, just having the ability to measure what's going on pre and post that application, just to, like you mentioned, to collect that data. Is that kind of your methodology? Make sure you're treating the surface properly, the conditions are right before you apply it. Otherwise, you're going to run into warranty issues and possible voided warranty if it's not applied correctly.
Yeah, and John, that's a good point. I don't even know if it's necessarily talking about warranties, but you're talking about premature coating failures. 75%, or I mean, geez, the number changes all the time, but 75% of coating failures, whether it's a bridge, a car, a widget, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
75% of the failures are due to improper surface preparation, and that could be relegated to cleanliness, meaning are there contaminants on the surface?
Hmm.
Profile, if you're, even if you're talking about steel and concrete, profile is still a pretty big factor as far as a coating's chance of success. Kind of sounds funny to say it that way, but it really is. Um, the surface preparation doesn't matter if it's steel, concrete, wood, even drywall. I mean, you have to have a
Yeah.
clean substrate to have good success. So that's a great point. It's we really didn't talk about too many gauges talking about profile cleanliness or what is the range of your blasted steel profile, but
Yeah.
a lot of these instruments are capable of doing that. So
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Quiet group today. What questions do you have? Are there things going on with your own applications or facilities that we can assist with? Would love to hear someone besides Matt and myself. So what, while we're waiting for some folks to chime in here, what are kind of the top key things that, um, when you're talking to customers, I guess the top three issues that you see them doing that could be improved upon when it comes to physical testing or field testing?
right. So we deal a lot with coating manufacturers, obviously, both on the industrial and automotive side of things, and a lot of the topics of discussion are color and appearance, which we didn't talk about today. It's a whole different animal.
Yeah,
But for the most part, it's film thickness, adhesion. A lot of these customers that
yeah,
they're really concerned about the adhesive qualities of the coating applied to the substrate. So that's very important. Um, you know, like I said, when we're talking about the V cuts, when we're talking about the tilt gauges or whatnot, the pig gauges, that's when you're looking into a problem. A lot of people are concerned about film thickness, profile, and then something I think we could have added to the slide maybe for next time.
yeah.
Holiday testing, pinhole testing, film conformity is a very important issue as well.
When would someone use a holiday test or a pinhole test?
So what you're going to use for a holiday testing, John, is you're going to test the thickness of the coating, or sorry, you're going to test the porosity of the coating after the final coat is applied, but before cure. Meaning, if you find holidays or pinholes, you can go back and touch it up or repair that coating system before the cure has occurred.
Ah, gotcha.
It's a whole different animal. You know what I mean? Like
That
if
makes
you check for pinholes or holidays after the cure, then you're walking yourself through an entire different repair process.
got it. So it can be done prior to the coating curing.
Right, and every product data sheet or whatever you want to call it from a
Yeah,
coating manufacturer is going to have that recoat window
I see.
clearly identified.
Very nice. Are there other things you're seeing out there, in talking to customers, whether you're, out in the field or, from a lab, that they're doing some testing, that, common mistakes or common things that you're having to remind them, whether it's collecting data, recording data, keeping those logs, of not only what you're doing in the field, but also that, you know, data record of what's gone on in the field, so you can verify that with the owner.
Right. That's a good question. I mean, it's going to be different, more so if you're in the quality control role, meaning you're
Mhm.
the applicator, you're the painting contractor. There's going to be a larger range of reporting and data collection that you're going to be responsible for. Um, on the flip side of things, when we go to different applications or go to additive manufacturers, they may not. I don't want to say necessarily care, but as long as they're within their specifications or in their realms, then the
Mhm.
data collection issue isn't that big of a deal.
Okay.
Um, it kind of all depends on what end of the spectrum, reporting wise, you're in.
Okay. Yeah, and I just see, when you're applying a surface, just making sure it's prepped appropriately, making sure the conditions are right for applying that surface, making sure it's the right thickness, prior to it drying or curing, double checking, make sure it's, the right thickness after it's dry, just to cover all your bases, because you don't want to be painting a bridge and have the owner or have the DOT come back at you.
So the most important thing in quality control is you're, applying a coating system.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I mean, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, right? You're going to do X amount of square feet a day until the quality assurance inspectors come in and make sure that everything's going properly.
Mhm.
That is, as far as coating projects are concerned, that is the biggest hindrance. We'll use that word,
Mhm.
hindrance and cost is having to go back and redo work. You're talking about resetting scaffolding and containment, like we talked about earlier, and even the blasting and coating process is very expensive. So it's usually not the cost of the coating; it's the cost of the labor to do
Yeah,
everything.
exactly.
So
Exactly. And then you plan it out and it's raining that day or something.
right. So, and we've all driven across bridges that you're like, how much did it cost to set up the scaffolding or containment? And
Yeah.
that's usually the most expensive part of a project is, the setup and tear down per se.
Yep. Exactly. Well, good. Quiet group today. Had a couple comments. No questions. Thanks for the information on the tools offered. So that's good. Here we always want to provide you guys with what's going on, what we offer. We have these office hours every month. Usually the second, or I think it's the third week, third Wednesday of every month. You guys get the emails on it. We have a variety of topics from the physical test equipment and field testing, like we're talking today, along with everything from haze and gloss measurement, appearance theory, color theory, effect coatings, you name it, we're covering it. And if there's a, a time where you wish we covered something, or we just don't have that on our program, just do not hesitate to hit reply to any of the marketing messages. It'll come right to us, and we'll get a program set up for you. We can even hook you up with someone in your region to talk to you while we're preparing a presentation. So we're here to help assist you guys and make life easier for you and make sure you're doing things right. So
And John, I want to make a point of that. I don't want that to be forgotten. We do have regional people all across the country and globally.
yeah.
Kind of like you said earlier, if you need, like a lot of the paint manufacturers, we do a lot of automotive work, and we're going to do hands-on training per se with some of our color and appearance meetings, even with outside vendors. So an Exalta, an SW, a PPG, we will come to you and do the on hands training. Kind of like a lunch and learn, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but if you guys have any questions out there or need hands on training for new employees or even refresher training, we will come to you and do it. It's kind of what, we're not just here to sell you stuff, we're here to add additional training
Yep. Yeah, well,
opportunities.
yeah. One of the big things here in marketing this year is just adding content to the websites, whether it's the Bic Instruments site or guardco.com. Just
Right.
adding white papers, how-to guides, best practices, things like that to bring that more value to you. So yeah, like Matt said, reach out with any questions you have. We'd love to help. Um, and I think we don't have any questions. Quiet group. That's good. You guys must be doing something right. Feel free to ping us if you have any questions that come up later on today or next week or whenever.
Right.
We're here to support
And
you.
don't forget, maybe offer this to the group. If you're on the cutting edge of needing equipment or not, we can do demos. We can get you demo instruments as well.
Yep.
It's not just a buy it and done type application. If you're up in the air whether or not a certain product is going to fit your needs, reach out to us. We can get you the equipment. We have plenty of demo instruments per se, and then let us go from there.
Yep, exactly. Always good to kick the tires a little bit.
Right,
Um,
right.
but with that, I think we'll wrap it up, Matt. I appreciate your time and expertise here. Always good just chatting with you, and I'm learning something every day from you, so all good. Um,
Right.
Thank you for everyone who attended. Like I said, you'll get the recording, this link. Feel free to share it around your facility, watch it later, ping us for questions, and then also look for future webinar invites, whether it's our office hours like this format or a more formal presentation. We call those our 60 minutes, and they usually last about 45 with about 15 minutes for questions. So thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us today. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you on a future webinar. So thank you, and have a great day.